speaking about what you should go watch and what's coming back to theaters is a movie that we both just saw.
Oh, yeah.
It came out 3 months ago, but we got back to it just because, word of mouth is so good. Demi Moore just won Best Actress in a comedy or musical category. It's
not a musical.
It's not a musical for sure. You can argue whether it's a comedy. There are comedic moments, but this is more like a drama, like a horror drama film.
Very dark comedy, maybe.
Yeah. We're talking about The Substance.
Yeah.
The Substance, basically, the story is about a fading celebrity taking a black market drug, a cell-replicating substance that temporarily creates a younger, better version of herself. Things go wrong when the other half begins to literally take more and more from the original. As I mentioned, starring Demi Moore as Elizabeth, Margaret Qualley as Sue, and Dennis Quaid. Quaid as Harvey. He was literally chewing up every scene. Literally chewing up every scene in this film. There's so many close-ups.
Never eat shrimp again.
Eat shrimp, or I don't know, like that, or thank goodness, or smoke cigarettes, because he does not make that look appetizing at all. But this movie, I've heard, and I made the mistake of I watched this at home. You can rent it right now on demand, or you can buy it on Amazon Prime. But I was home alone. I was like, okay, let me warm up leftovers. Let me sit down and start eating. And I made the mistake of eating during this film because this is the first thing that popped in my head, description-wise, was just disturbing.
Yeah. It's grotesque. In a good way, I think. Not in you don't watch this movie, it's grotesque. But it's if you don't have a strong stomach and you're not really good with blood and stuff like that, this is not the movie for you.
Yeah, and it starts out pretty small, and I'm a little squeamish to needles already. Mm-hmm. I give blood, but when they put the needle in, I have to kind of just look away, just go for it, but I'll look away. So it starts out with some needle jabs. So at first it kind of I'm eating, and the first stomach gets a little twisty, okay, but I can deal with that. But then things just escalate more and more so throughout the movie. Let's talk about, we could go into the non-spoiler-ish, and then we can get into the deep dive of it. But basically this is a movie that looks at the ugly side of Hollywood or the entertainment industry, and especially how women are treated. I know the director, she was saying that she filmed this movie through the male gaze, and that is often what a lot of people used to film movies or shows with the intent of having men being satisfied with what they looked at. So a lot of shots with are physical. You're looking at women's body parts and looking for that eroticism and trying to catch a man's eye. But the director intentionally used that to try to tell the story about how hard it can be for women in this case, who are aging but are still expected to live up to not only societal expectations, but also because of that, their own expectations. And there's a lot of self-harm messaging in this as well.
Yeah, and how the industry really forces them to try to always be, try to look young, and to the whole idea where it's it was her 50th birthday and Dennis Quaid's running, he's we need younger, and it's probably not even that outrageous to say that happens. Literally, people hit a certain age and the big studio execs are time to move on and get someone new, and it is really a story kind of in a testament to what people what women have to deal with in the industry and what they're expected to do, and the lengths that some people might go to try to hold on to that, because and this might not be something they would actually want to do for themselves, but that's just what they're expected to do,
Yeah. So basically, this starts out with literally a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and it shows Elizabeth Sparkle, which is Demi Moore's character, and it goes through the day that it was unveiled. You have all the paparazzi, you have everybody taking pictures of this is a downward shot, so you just see the top of the heads, and then throughout the seasons and years, you see how eventually it gets cracked. People drop food on it, and it becomes time has passed, people forget about this person or don't think of them as often or as highly, and so Demi Moore plays this actress who was big in the heyday, but then eventually now she's like older and she's kind of working. Her legacy is now doing workout videos, kind of popular. What was popular in the 80s? What are they, leotards? What do you call them?
I think so.
Like spandex leotard stuff.
That was it? I like aerobics stuff. Like the in-home aerobics.
Yeah, and so that's like her legacy now. And then Dennis Quaid's character is like a producer of sort, or the creator of the show or whatnot. And then she, she goes to the restroom in the men's room because this isn't a big spoiler yet, but she overhears him saying, we need somebody younger, somebody hotter. Like she's 50, she's old, she's done. And then this is what triggers her into, thinking, she's not enough, she's not worth it. She goes to a doctor through a series of events, and she gets offered the substance, which is like this miracle cure. And what it will do is, and again, this is not a spoiler, but basically you take the substance and then you are replicated. Like another version, a younger, better version of you is born. In a sense.
Yeah, and it's certainly in a sense.
Yeah, and so these characters, these two separate entities who are one, but separate, they each take turns on a week by week basis, and then that's when things start going off the rails. As we mentioned before, like grotesque, disturbing. This movie is not shy about showing blood, showing flesh in the worst possible conditions.
Like gashes and like the whole. I don't know if we're trying to get into the spoiler territory,
but start crossing into it.
The whole act of like how the second person is created is like they like emerge from like a slit in Demi Moore's back, and it's like I remember watching that and like I haven't seen a lot of like body horror type movies, and I was like, oh boy, little did I know what was going to come from there. But just that scene alone was just like, it was just so bizarre, and it really does set the tone for what you're going to see the rest of the movie. And I kind of like the idea that I thought about it was almost like as the movie goes on, it's Demi Moore starts to like become like Gollum from the Lord of the Rings. Like it's just like I call it like the Gollumification of Demi Moore. This is what this movie can be summed up.
There's a point where she realizes that the other half is not treating her well while she is incapacitated, and because of that, she's physically being deformed because the other one is literally taking too much of her spinal fluid, which is another grotesque scene that reiterates that what people are willing to do, like the self-harm they're willing to do to themselves in order to maintain what they think is on par for what society expects. And because of this, she's going through this physical deformation, and she's given the option to you can stop this whenever you want, but you will no longer be partaking in the high life. Your other half will not be partaking in the high life and being in the spotlight and being young and beautiful and all this stuff. You can stop that. You can stop doing this to yourself, and she chooses not to stop.
Yeah, because then she'll also be like, you can't reverse any of the things that she's done. Like I remember that scene when she first has it's just like her finger at first, and she's like, how do I get this fixed? And they're like, you can't get it fixed.
Yeah.
And I like the whole time where she's like, she, and then the guy on the phone's like, there is no she, you are one. And they really keep saying, like, you are one. Like, every decision you're making, you are making about yourself, you know? And it was just, one of my friends, I remember she was describing it, and she was like, this is like, I'm sure that the person at the substance call center was like, oh my God. Every time she's calling again, like, I'm going to have to tell you the same thing. Like,
listen to yourself.
Your actions have consequences.
The thing is, one thing that really stuck out to me was when she realized that, that Margaret Qualley's character Sue, who's like the younger, hotter version, is abusing her and and taking more of her time than she's supposed to. Speaking about Kyle, he's the one that we went to Conan for. I'll call you back, Kyle. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so there's a scene where she's looking at the mirror, like Demi Moore's character is looking at the mirror, and she's yelling at herself like, "Stop doing this! Stop hurting yourself! Stop doing this!" And that is such a real scene for so many people who are going through a lot of mental stress or the trauma, where they may look at themselves in the mirror and yell at themselves like, "Why are you doing this? Stop it!" That self-harm, kind of reiterating of how society put so much pressure, and industries put so much pressure on people, whether you're a man or a woman, and it can be hard, even though you realize that you're hurting yourself, it can be hard to stop that.
And even putting pressure on yourself, I mean, because the younger version is literally putting so much pressure on the older person that it's literally sucking the life out of them, like the years. And I remember the scene when she goes on the phone and she's like, she's just sitting in front of the TV all day eating, you know? It's like, well, that's because like she's struggling through dealing with this thing, you know? And like the scene where she opens up the French cookbook and she's making all that food. Like, it's one of those things, I'm sure at that point you're probably like, I don't want to eat ever again.
I'm done eating.
You know, like, no, I'm good. Like, I'm going to throw this out. I'm not going to eat tomorrow. Like, God.
Yeah. No, that was again. This is a beautifully shot film. The cinematography is amazing. The colors are really the director and the cinematographer. Because after this movie, I've been watching all the behind the scenes and the making of and all the stuff. And they're saying they wanted like a retro feel, but like a retro future. So you had a lot of like kind of 80 poppy colors, but it kind of feels like a kind of super like kind of a future dystopian Hollywood.
Yeah.
And the director was the director and the cinematographer were talking about, again, that male gaze, wanting to make sure that people understood, you know, what that does to people. So cinematically, it looks beautiful. The hallway scenes, the long shots, the camera angles were really beautiful, really well done. Yeah. A lot of this was done without CGI effects.
Wow.
And so, like, the apartment, they built that entire set.
It's a beautiful set.
Beautiful set. A lot of the prosthetics, especially for the last act of it, where Sue, she takes the substance because after, you know, again, we're in the spoilers now, but after she nearly kills Demi Moore's character because, you know, she tried to end
the
Wally's
substance.
life. She starts falling apart literally like right before like her big New Year's show, and she goes back to the house, takes the last of like the substance which you're not supposed to take, and then she morphs another. I love the Monstra Elizasu, the title that was introduced for like the third one that pops out, and then so all that, you know, real prosthetics.
That's crazy.
Super crazy. Apparently, Margaret Qualley had really bad acne reaction to the prosthetics, and so she had a whole year of recovery from from the acne and stuff. But
another thing of the thing that people will do to make a movie, you know, like to literally, that's almost like the hammer hitting the nail on the head, like a huge metaphor within the whole movie itself.
But I think they did a great job, and like again, they did so many cool camera effects. You know, the scene where after Demi Moore takes the substance and it has like the colors like kind of zooming by, and like you kind of see like weird kind of lines zooming by. They did that practically. They had like this weird, like these two big wheels, and they had lights that were like each like fluorescent lights that are vertical, and it spun, and the camera's in the middle of it, and so you had such a great camera work in this film. So it's visually beautiful. The story has a great meaning and metaphor.
And how like every shot of Dennis Quaid was almost shot with like a fisheye lens, you know, like it's giving that, like it makes it kind of puts you in the position of the characters and how uncomfortable it must be to be around someone
right in
who's
your
like
face.
that, you know, like someone who's, you know, like, you know, squeezing everything they can out of you, and someone that's so, you know, misogynistic and stuff like that. And, you know, it's like you're almost makes the viewer almost receiving the gaze that he's, you know, imposing upon them, which I thought was really cool, especially, I mean, the scene with him eating the shrimp is just like, oh, God.
Yeah. Like, so the Dennis Quaid's character, his name is Harvey, which, again, is no subtlety in that. You know, obviously referencing, like, a connection to Harvey Weinstein and the abuse of women and people in the entertainment industry. So you have this character doing the same thing who doesn't care about, you know, what's old. He just wants what's new, what's hot, what's fresh, and just being a disgusting human being about it, but, like, feeling like he's, like, the best and, like, everyone owes him everything. Fun fact about Dennis Quaid, he was actually not cast as Harvey initially. Ray Liotta was going to play that character, and so they started filming. I forget when they filmed this, but they were filming, and so 3 months into filming, they didn't have Dennis Quaid come in, and so Dennis Quaid came in to fill in for Ray Liotta because Ray passed away. Yeah. But so I can imagine Ray doing a fantastic job as that character too. But Dennis Quaid, he's fantastic being like this weasel, this slimy thug.
The way he delivers that line when he in the hallway to Margot Qualley, so smile. Like it's like sends a chill down
Beautiful
your spine.
women smile or should smile or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
the way he delivers that, I was just like, I remember I was texting one of my friends while I was watching it. I was just like, I mean, the Demi Moore and Margot Qualley are doing great, but like Dennis Quaid's cooking as well too.
Yeah.
Like the three, because it's really just the three of them. Like there are a couple other speaking characters, but just like three pros really on the top of their game in this one.
I'm not surprised that Demi Moore won an award, got a Golden Globe for her performance. Again, excuse me, I'm not sure if comedy or musical was the best category. I really don't.
It's kind of like The Bear.
Yeah, you know? I know. Don't get me started. Don't get me started on The Bear. But like that could easily be up for like just Best Actress.
Yeah,
just Best Actress.
And it wouldn't shock me come Oscar time if she's the one that takes that home. Yeah, I really think that she's made a good case for that.
Yeah, the director is so good too. She also, and I should have written it down. But the director, she's French, and she directed this movie called The Revenge. It's another horror film which got great buzz, critically acclaimed as well. So that's a movie that I now want to watch because she's a great director, great job with this film, and I can't wait to see what other movies is coming out of this.
She's a very unique vision, because the whole concept behind this movie, it's not like a new idea. Like we've heard stories that talk about this, but I think the execution of this is so unique and so special and impactful that I definitely would love to see some stuff from her that she's already done and in the future.
Yeah. So I highly recommend this film. Highly recommend The Substance. Again, it is coming back in theaters, but if you are at home, it is streaming on Amazon Prime for renting or for owning. Like $20 you can own it. So highly recommend it.
And you want to talk about a good theater experience? I'm sure watching that in a crowded theater of people that haven't seen it before, that would be an experience.
The back sewing up scene, like after Margaret Qualley's character Sue is born, and she's like suturing or sewing up.
Yeah.
That was like, oh my god, that's so meaty and so crazy. Wild stuff.
Great.